We're going to be in Psalm 42 this morning. And there's a pastor of Fifth Avenue Presbyterian Church in New York, Reverend Thomas Tillwell. He tells a story about Christmas Eve one day at his church. And so it's the 11 o'clock service. That's in many Midwestern churches, traditional churches, you have a 7 o'clock and then you have an 11 o'clock service that ends at midnight on Christmas Eve. And it's 11 o'clock service. This is a large church, and the band. It's about a quarter to. It's about 10:30, and the string section and the horns are all tuning up and warming up, and the choir's filing in and getting ready, and people are beginning to file into the church. And Reverend Tillwell's walking down the hall to go to the sanctuary. And he sees somebody just sobbing and distraught and just at the end of their rope. And he knows this person well. And this is an individual that he's counseled with that is an alcoholic and has just been trying to get his life together. And Reverend Tillwell stops him and he says to him, he says, "You know, this is the worst. I'm just getting out of here. I've been sober for 3 months, and I've been trying to put my life back together. And I lost my children, and I lost my wife to this alcoholism. And then she just went to court and ended my visitation rights with my kids. Now I don't even get to see my kids. And I came here so that I could be encouraged. And I sat down in a pew, and just a few pews over, there was a mom and a dad and children. That should be my family. That should be me and my family. I'm just going, I'm leaving, I'm going to go to a bar, I'm going to get wasted, I'm done." And Reverend Tillwell said, "Well, just hang on a minute. I want you to go to my office and wait there, and I'll be there in a minute." And so as we look at Psalm 42, it's about a person who's in despair. It's written by a person who is in despair and doesn't see any way out and is at the end of their rope. You ever get in that place? There's nothing going right. Everything seems to be lost, and there's no answer in sight. This is what the writer of Psalm 42, this is the position he was in. Now I'm going to read this psalm, and we're not going to have anything up on the board. I'm going to read from my own translation of the Hebrew text. The English text and the Hebrew text are quite different for this psalm to help us, but I think there's some important things that need to be highlighted in the Hebrew text. So I'm going to read my translation. So if you would just listen. "As the deer longs for channels of water, my soul longs for you, God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When will I come and see the face of God? My tears have been my food by day and by night, while they continually say to me, 'Where is your God?' These things I remember and pour out from my soul. For I used to pass through the multitude, deliberately walking to the house of God with a voice of praise and thanksgiving, with the crowd keeping the festival. Why are you in despair, my soul? And why are you troubled within me? Hope in God, for I will thank him still for the salvation of my face. My God, my soul is in despair, and therefore I remember you from the land of the Jordan to the peaks of Hermon, from Mount Mizar. Deep calls to deep to the sound of your waterfalls. All your breakers and waves have passed over me. By day the Lord will command his loving kindness, and in the night his song will be with me, a prayer to the God of my life. I will say to God, my rock, why have you forgotten me? Why do I go on mourning because of the oppression of my enemy? Like a shattering of my bones, my enemies taunt me. They say to me continually, where is your God? Why are you in despair, my soul? And why are you troubled within me? Hope in God, for I will thank him still for the salvation of my face and my God. Psalm 42 is telling us that God is always our salvation. God is always our salvation, even when things seem hopeless. He is always our answer, even when things seem unanswerable. God is always our salvation. And because God is our salvation, we should reach out to him even when he seems far away. Even when it seems like he's forgotten, we should reach out to him. And here in this psalm, the psalmist reaches out to God in three ways. Okay? Three ways he reaches out to God. He reaches out to God in honesty. We should reach out to God in honesty, verses 1 through 3. We have that, everybody, if you're an old timer, you remember the song, As the Deer? I know Sam does. Where are you, Sam? As the Deer. So, okay, so anybody remember the song? Yes? No? Okay, everybody remembers the song. So I want you to forget the song, all right, for now, because the song really doesn't have anything to do with the scripture. So the song is about coming before God and wanting to meet with him. What's going on here is this guy, he is so depressed. He is so at the end of his rope. He is thirsty for God, and God is not there. Where is he? I need the streams of water from God. Where is he? This is what the psalmist is saying, as he says, as the deer longs for channels of water, my soul longs for you. Where are you? My soul thirsts for you. I don't even know when I will come and see the face of God, because he just seems so distant. He's so parched. He's at the end of his rope. All he can do is cry. My life is lost. And it is so lost that the people that know me are mocking me for serving this God. Where is this God now? Your life is such a mess. What the heck? Why do you even serve this God? Didn't the people say to Jesus when he was on the cross? He's on the cross. And they say, all right, he's up there now. Let God bring him down and save him if God loves him so much. If he's the Son of God, God will bring him down. Where is your God? He's in such a place that people are mocking him. So if you look in verses 7, 9, and 10, deep calls to deep, the sound of your waterfalls, all your breakers and waves pass over me. Verse 9, I will say to God, my rock, why have you forgotten me? Why must I go on mourning? 10, like a shattering of my bones, my enemies taunt me. They say continually, where is your God? These verses just highlight the despair that this person is in. And Jonah, verse 7, if it sounds familiar, deep calls to deep, the sound of your waterfalls. Jonah quotes this when he's drowning and dying after he's been tossed into the sea. You ever feel like that? Like there's no answer, there's no way out. Someone close has died to you. Someone close to you has died. You're having marriage difficulties. Things just don't seem to be going right. You're in a job you hate, and you don't see any way out of it. Your child or your grandchild is in trouble, and there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to let them live through the pain. God seems to be absent. You pray and you don't hear anything, and you don't see any results. The psalmist reaches out to God in honesty. And there's a great example of this. Sometimes we feel like we can't be honest with God, which is kind of funny because he knows anyway, right? I just muted it. Seems unspiritual to us. But listen to Habakkuk, a prophet. He says, "How long, Lord, must I cry out for help, but you do not listen? Or cry out to you violence, but you do not save? Why do you make me look at injustice? Why do you tolerate this wrongdoing? Destruction and violence are before me. There is strife and conflict abounds. Therefore, the law is paralyzed and justice never prevails. The wicked hem in the righteous so that justice is perverted." And God responds to him and he complains again. "Lord, are you not from everlasting? My God, my Holy One, you will never die. You, Lord, have appointed them." This is a unrighteous nation who's going to execute judgment on Israel. "To execute judgment, you, my rock, have ordained them to punish. Your eyes are too pure to look on evil. You cannot tolerate wrongdoing. Why then do you tolerate the treacherous?" You hear his accusations? "Why are you silent while the wicked swallow up those more righteous themselves?" He's honest. He's open. We need to be open and honest. I mean, Hebrews 4:14 says, "Therefore, since we have a great high priest who has ascended into heaven, Jesus the Son of God, let us hold firmly to the faith we profess. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to empathize with our weaknesses, but we have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, and yet he did not sin. Let us then approach God's throne with the grace of confidence, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need." So we should cry out honestly to God. Jesus understands. Not only, and I hope you get from that passage in Hebrews that Jesus understands, lived it right, but he still understands that we're going to struggle to do it right, and has given us grace. And so just cry out to God. Be open. Complain to him. Tell him he doesn't know what he's doing. Tell him he hasn't done what you've asked him to do. His feelings won't be hurt. But if we can't come before God open and raw, then we won't give him what he needs to have of our lives. So we need to be honest before him. Since God is always our salvation, we should reach out to him in honesty and reach out to him in faith. Verse 8. Verse 8 is by day the Lord will command his loving kindness, and in the night his song will be with me, a prayer to the God of my life. See, in verse 2, he says, God is nowhere. Verse 9, God's forgotten me. Verse 3 and verse 10, I am in agony. I don't get any relief, and people are just mocking me for following you. We need to trust God and trust his loving character. Isn't verse 8 interesting in here? All this complaining, and he says, by day the Lord will command his loving kindness, and in the night his song will be with me, a prayer to the God of my life. So all of this is going on, and yet God is still with him. Notice the back and forth. You got 1 through 4. Things are terrible. Verse 5, why are you in despair? Trust God. 6 through 7, things are terrible. Verse 8, God's loving kindness is with me. 9 through 10, things are terrible. Verse 11, why are you so discouraged? Why are you in despair? Isn't that the way it works in life, right? As we're trying to struggle through things. One moment we have faith, the next moment we have none. We just start to get climbing and get together, and then something else happens, and we're brought back down again. God understands, and he knows, and he wants us to have faith. Listen to what the Bible says about God's love for us. And I'm going to pull these from the Old Testament because we always think of the God of love of the New Testament, but God is a God of love of the Old Testament as well. Jeremiah 29:11, I know the plans I have for you. He's talking to people who have lost everything that's important to them. And he says, I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. And then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. And you will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. It'd be 70 years before they went back to their land. Jeremiah 31, the Lord appeared to us in the past, saying, I have loved you with an everlasting love. I have drawn you with unfailing kindness. I will build you up again. And you, virgin Israel, will be rebuilt. And again you will take up your timbrels and go out to dance with the joyful. Isaiah 49:15. Can mother forget the baby that is at her breast and have no compassion on the child she has born? Though she may forget, I will not forget you. See, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands, and your walls are ever before me. Trust God and his loving character. Reach out to God for his love. Trust him in faith. Trust him. You know, many years ago, when my children were young, like 6 and 3, it was a Saturday morning, and at this time I was a pastor of a small church in northwest suburbs of Chicago, and was doing that, and then also was traveling for waste management, doing consulting type work for waste management. So I'd be gone during the week, come home on Friday or Thursday night, and then do my pastoral work. And it was a Saturday morning, and the kids were up, and they were just being kids, but they were really being annoying. I mean, they were just bugging me. And but they were just being 3 and 6. And so I said, all right, everybody shut up. Everybody go upstairs, get dressed. We are going to the hospital. We're going to the returns department, and we're taking you back. And my youngest, they call me Papa. My youngest says, Papa, we're not going to the hospital. She knew I was joking. She trusted my love, even though at this time I was telling her I'm taking her all back. I'm getting a refund. But she knew. In faith, let's trust God, for his love is much better than my love. It's much more consistent, much more faithful. And so what we do after we've reached out to God in honesty and just borne our soul to him, then we reach out to him in faith and we continue to do what we're supposed to do. We keep on keeping on. That's the display of faith. All right, I'm going to keep going to church even though I feel like God is just abandoning me. I'm going to keep on praying even though I don't think God is hearing me. I'm going to keep on tithing even though I don't think it's worth the money right now. I'm going to keep on meeting with God in my quiet time even though it seems like I get nothing. I'm going to keep on keeping on because I'm going to reach out to God in faith, and I'm going to do what I know I'm supposed to do. I'm going to keep on serving. I'm going to keep on doing what I'm supposed to do because I trust God in his love. So we reach out to God in honesty, we reach out to God in faith, and we reach out to God in hope. This hope is a confidence in God and his character. Now, I want you to see that our faith and our hope are in God's character, not in an outcome that we're looking to. We don't have faith that God's going to provide us what we've asked for. We have faith that God is loving and will do what is best. We don't have hope that we're going to get what we want. We have confidence, hope and confidence in the God who is sovereign and always does what is good and just. See, if we hope on some sort of thing we're looking for, we will not find our peace in God. I mean, this guy here in the passage, right? I remember when I went out to church and I was with the worshipers and I was singing and I was doing all sorts of stuff. I remember God on these mounts, these places that are special. I remember what God did here, and they didn't help him, did it? Didn't help him at all. He's still in despair. His memory of what took place in the past is not helpful. So our hope is our confidence in God and His character. The memories are nothing. God is all-powerful. God is loving. He is present. He is just. He is kind. He is generous. We put our hope and confidence in Him, not in ourselves, not in what we're looking to have happen. God is our salvation. He is our solution. He is our answer. Our answer is not what we think should happen. Our answer is God Himself. That's an important distinction. If I'm in a job that I hate, my answer is not get another job. My answer is God and what He will provide. Does that make sense? And he says, why are you in despair? Why are you troubled? Hope in God. I will thank Him for the salvation of my faith, my face, and my God. So what he's saying here is we need to use gratefulness, thankfulness, to reset our focus on God and take it off of our problems. Now, we can be thankful for what God has done, but what the psalmist is pointing for here is that we're thankful for who God is. We are thankful for who He is. And this then takes our focus off of our problems and sets them on the God who is sovereign over all things. So we approach God and we reach out to Him in hope because we're confident of who He is and His goodness. When my girls turned 4 years old, when they each turned 4, we went on a vacation, just me and, I have 2 girls, just me and the daughter. And so when my oldest, Kariah, turned 4, we started a vacation. It was a camping trip and hiking. And so we would do this every year, 4 years old. They complained about it a lot of times. They cried sometimes it's cold when we woke up in the morning, but now that they're grown, this is what they ask for, to go camping with Papa. When my youngest turned 4, I took her to Devil's Lake in Wisconsin. You know where that is, John, don't you? And so Devil's Lake is a very beautiful area. It has sheer cliffs. People climb them and rappel off of them, all sorts of things. It also has boulder fields that allow you to climb all the way to the top. So I took my youngest, 4 years old. We're going to climb the boulder fields. Now these boulders, some of these boulders are as big as cars. They're huge. And so you climb these boulders all the way up to the top. Well, my little 4-year-old, she's scared. She's, I don't want to do it. She's crying. And I'm saying, I'm right behind you. We'll go for it. just take it one step at a time. We grab here, make sure you have 3 points that are secure before you move the fourth one. This is how you work without falling, okay? So we went, she's crying, but I'm right behind her, I'm telling her, she's going up and up and up, and we're doing it a little bit of time. She's scared, and she's still saying, what do I do next? And teary-eyed a little bit. And so we get to the top. And there's a path that you can walk down. You don't have to climb down. We get to the top, and this 4-year-old raises her hands. I'm the boss. And she walks down the mountain. I'm the boss. I'm the boss. She had such a good time, but she was afraid, and she had to put her hope in me to keep her stable and to encourage her to move forward and do what was necessary. And so if we're going to reach out to God in hope, we do it in faith, so we keep doing what we know to do. We do it in hope under the confidence of God's character, because God is going to teach us through these times of despair, and He's going to expect us to move in a new direction. And so we put our hope in God so that we can take this step in a new direction, even though we're in despair and we feel like God is not with us. Does that make sense? And this is how we reach out to God. This is how He shows His love to us. Psalm 42 and Psalm 43 are a single psalm in the Hebrew text. Okay? And what happens in Psalm 43 is these questions. There's no answer in either of these psalms, okay? There's no resolution, but the questions get smaller and smaller and smaller as the psalmist writes and moves in his journey and reaches out to God in honesty, in faith, and in hope, and takes the steps he needs to take. His questions get smaller and smaller and smaller as he sees God involved in his life. So at 11:15 at Fifth Avenue Baptist Church in New York, Reverend Tillwell goes to the pulpit and he welcomes everybody to the Christmas Eve service. And he remembers that the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous is Bill Wilson. And he welcomes everybody. He says, everyone greet each other. I want anyone in this audience who is a friend of Bill Wilson to please come to my office and meet with me. And so he saw people get up, leave their seats, and go to his office. And a group of men met with this man in despair. And they prayed for him, and they encouraged him. He stayed for the service. He spent the night with another family and had Christmas dinner with another family. And the whole thing sparked a huge revival in the men of this church. This man just honestly told Reverend Tillwell where he was. And God took his despair and took his faith to just trust God and to sit in that office until a group of men showed up. And God showed up. God loves us. He understands what we go through, even though that's hard for us to get our minds around. He loves us enough to not just give us everything that we want or ask for. There's a line in a song that says, God can do anything but he won't do just anything. And so these times of despair, these times when we feel like he is gone, are times for us to build our faith and to grow. Times where God is teaching us to ride the bike and we don't feel he's holding on, we don't feel him at our back, but he's behind us. You're doing fine. You're not going to fall. Keep pedaling. And this is what we're supposed to learn from this song. Let's pray.